Make a habit of empathy, to recognize ourselves in each other.
My name is Devi. Actually, my full name is Devyani, but mostly people call me Devi, D-E-V-I. Last name is Gursahaney, and I live in Ohio, and I work as an independent consultant in the area of managing cultural diversity, communicating across the diverse cultures, and so basically my goal is to really introduce compassion and respect in the workplace, and I like to help people bridge those gaps that we all have created. I'm originally from India, but now I've been living in this country for almost over 30 years, so this is my home. And I am one of the key coordinators for this conference, and that's why I'm in California. Well, I would like to share it from the Hindu or the Hindu philosophy and a perspective. In our language, for compassion, there is a word called daya, which is spelled D-A-Y-A, and daya means like having an empathy for the person for their suffering. So you put yourself in their same shoes and you suffer, and at the same time, you kind of, it's a self-controlling thing too. So you don't just take over the person or kind of and then another word that I really like, which is so well described in the Buddhism they used, which is a Hindi Arabic word. It's called karuna, and that is also means understanding and identifying with the suffering of the people. But if you look at the three major religions of India, Hinduism, Buddhism, which are the shoots of Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism, they all talk about compassion, and they all say that the suffering is part of the human life. We will all be going through the suffering, it's like cyclical. But how do we deal with that, in a most compassionate way towards ourselves and other beings? But they also go a little bit further into their definition of empathy and compassion, that it is also incorporation of ahimsa, which is a non-violence. So it is not just non-violence against human beings, but non-violence against every living being. So that includes the animals, and oftentimes we forget that. And I think because of that principle, most all Jains or Buddhists or Hindus, believe in non-vegetarian, and they eat vegetarian diet because they don't want to hurt, any living being.
Do you see a difference between empathy and compassion?
I do. I think sometimes we use them like kind of as a synonym to each other, but compassion is more kind of feeling or extending your love, or because you see somebody suffering. But empathy goes a little bit beyond that. You put yourself into that person's position, and your goal is really not to solve their problems, but feel for them and help themselves, to overcome the pain and the sufferings that they are going through. So that is how I view it.
So you view it as actually putting yourself in their shoes.
Exactly, and with a respect and objectivity, because sometimes we can, with compassion, we can really get caught up into emotional, subjective side of it, and particularly if it is suffering is, being endured by somebody or you like or you love, whereas empathy comes for any being, regardless whether you know them, you don't know them, they are part of your family or extended family or the society. You feel for, all human beings, and you want to somehow be part of relieving their suffering. That's what the distinction I make.
And what is the opposite of empathy for you?
Opposite of empathy, in some way you can use again the Hindu word daya, means you feel the suffering, but more like feeling sorry for the person. And that is not really what you want to. It is okay to feel sorry for the person, but empathy is moving beyond that. Like, what can I do now to alleviate that suffering? How can I help? What can I be the reason, or how can I be the instrument to help, On a daily practice, I want to think of my actions and its consequences in a way that how it is going to impact other people, and how am I going to, what intentions I have, and how am I going to help them, with my, how am I going to put my intention into realistic action and help alleviate that suffering. That's how I look at it, But like, say for an example, I have a lot of empathy for people who have become the victims of addictions. And I try to understand them, and at the same time, I want to help them, but I also feel that I can't just go and help them unless they want to help themselves. And so I want to help them understand that aspect rather than giving them a solution. Oh, you should enroll yourself in a drug and alcohol abuse free, program or something like that, because that's not going to. They have to really go deep inside to understand, why am I addicted to this? What does it do to me? What is causing it? Things like that. But on a daily basis, I think that we can all practice this action of compassion and empathy. So when we are eating our meals, say for an example, you eat with that concept of compassion, love, and appreciation that you have food here, but there are many people in the world who don't have it. So and so that creates a kind of, when I'm being mindful of that, I develop some sort of empathy, for the larger humanity or the larger frame. And so then I'm mindful, I should not be wasteful, of what I eat. I take only what I need, and also go with the attitude of abundance rather than the scarcity that, oh, whatever I see, I should hoard it and keep it for me.